Hello, HERUG community. I am thrilled to be with you today. My name is Nancy Varghese, and I'll be your moderator for the opening keynote, SAP's Higher Education and Solution Strategy with Dr. Malcolm Woodfield. Before we get started, we like to encourage you to utilize the chat feature, and I see a couple comments already coming through the chat. If you could please let us know which university you're joining us from and whether you're working virtually, hybrid, or physically back in an office. Also, if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to use the chat. We will try to get to your questions during the presentation. If not, we'll definitely get back to you after the session has ended. Now, let me welcome our keynote presenter, Dr. Malcolm Woodfield. He is the head of SAP's Higher Education and Research Industry Business Unit. Dr. Woodfield is responsible for our worldwide business development and product strategy for SAP and has over 23 years of experience in the industry. For those of you that don't know Dr. Malcolm Woodfield, prior to joining SAP, he also had a successful career at various universities globally. Malcolm, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nancy, and welcome everyone to this year's Higher Education and Research User Group. It's my privilege to kick off, excuse me, this event, and to welcome you to Toronto, at least virtually. First off, I want to thank Kathy Aberts and her team for doing an extraordinary job in pulling together this conference. And for driving record registration numbers. So as always with conferences, a lot of moving parts behind the scenes. So thank you, Kathy, Liam, our technical guide to this new platform. And by the way, this is a new platform for many of us. So I am planning to shave off a few minutes from my keynote if possible, just to make sure that we have plenty of time for the transition between speakers. By the way, this is not actually our first virtual HERUG. Back in 2010, there was a volcano in Iceland, literally a few days before HERUG was scheduled to take place in Singapore at the National University of Singapore. And a cloud of gas and ash floated across Western Europe, cutting flights completely. So many of our customers were left in Europe, and so National University of Singapore had to pivot pretty much overnight to enabling remote presentations from our European customers. So this is actually the second time we've moved to this mode, but this time not even a hybrid mode. So anyway, amazing for Kathy and her team to innovate here and to enable us again to talk to each other. This is a very important event to all of us. It's one of our major touch points with our global install base, and it's great to see that registration number really reflect more like the size of our install base. So I want to touch on these points today. I want to say something about what you, our customers, have been doing since we last spoke, so to speak. And secondly, what our strategic focus is from the SAP side. So just really these two topics for today, and start, as always, with the most important thing, which is you, our customers, and in particular, some examples of the kind of innovation that you have been driving and implementing. Kathy mentioned the fact that that this year's HERUG is focused on the topic of driving innovation in the intelligent university. So I wanted to start out with some examples of innovation. Now, every year, SAP gives innovation awards at our Sapphire event to some of our top projects across our 25 industries. In recent years, our industry, higher education and research, has submitted more innovation award candidates than any other industry. And in many years, we have won more awards than any other industry. And this year is no different. So these were the award candidates. As you can see, very much a global event and across our sectors. That is to say, the university sector, the research sector there with a great project from the Max Planck Institute, and also the K through 12 sector. Two candidates here, one from Houston Independent School District, which was a joint venture with our University Alliances organization, and the Muskego Norway Schools COVID project. Muskego, Norway, by the way, is not in Norway. It's in Wisconsin, just to clarify that. So these were the candidates, and the winner was announced just a couple of days ago. And the winner here is actually Tec de Monterrey, the last of this list here. So congratulations to Hernan and his team on their building a really innovative platform to using SAP as the back end to maintain student engagement and employee engagement in the time of the COVID-19 pandemic. So congratulations to Tec de Monterrey. You'll be hearing more about what the Tec de Monterrey team is doing and is planning to do later in this event. Also on the topic of digital transformation, which is, of course, these days what we talk about pretty much all the time. Kathy mentioned the adoption of S/4HANA and the digital core applications like SuccessFactors, Ariba, Fieldglass, and so on. Again, we have been working in the last 6 months or so with some of the early adopters of S4, and these are the subjects of what we call business transformation stories. So again, we have something like over 700 higher education customers who have now adopted S/4HANA. They're either live, they're planning to go live, they're planning their projects. And we worked with a handful of them to actually write business transformation studies. So these are case studies on the impact, the value of implementing S/4HANA in the university environment. So there are documented case studies behind each of these. As you can see, very much a global picture, from Pakistan to Newcastle to Pennsylvania. Some really, really great stories, and I do recommend that you check these out. You will get these slides, by the way. They will be made available, and there will be links to all of these documented case studies, and I do recommend them. On the same topic now, that was about S4. Excuse me, 1 minute, I'm losing my voice here. We're also very focused, as you know, on our digital core applications. I'll say a little bit more about the roadmap and the strategy around these. But again, just to give you some examples of customers who in the last year, that is to say, since the last HERUG, actually that's been 2 years, come to think of it, who have adopted some of these core digital core applications. BU going live on Ariba, IDP, which is a placement platform in Australia, going live on Ariba and Concur. TAFE, which is part of the New South Wales Higher Education Ministry of Education, also adopting Ariba. You can see, as Kathy said, a bit of a trend here. We are seeing more adoption of Ariba for procurement and business networking. National University of Singapore have a long record of early adoption and implementation of SAP, also going live on SuccessFactors. Harvard implementing Fieldglass, and NYU implementing Fieldglass. Again, the signs of an early trend there towards more use of contingent labor, contract labor, temporary labor, both on the teaching side and the administrative side and the research side. So we are seeing, again, an uptick in the use of Fieldglass to kind of complement and extend SuccessFactors really within the world of contract management. So just some examples. This is, of course, not inclusive, simply a list of some early adopters. But again, behind all of these, there are stories. In many cases, there are videos that we've made of these customers. So please check them out. And thirdly, on the question of customer relationships, we kind of pride ourselves in higher education among our 25 industries that we feel, the best ongoing relationship with our install base. We have a number of touch points, and we have a great community, or a family, as we like to say, of collaborative customers. And I just want to kind of remind you of the principal touch points that particularly we from the industry side can drive. HERUG, right, has just kicked off the first one, which is an annual meeting. Our advisory council, HERUG, that I know rather confusingly sounds very similar to HERUG. This is a smaller group of some of the university leaders from some of our key customers. We have converted this from an annual meeting to a regular, almost monthly webinar. The purpose of the HERUG is for us to be able to listen to these business and academic leaders to give us feedback on our strategy and where we're going. A very important event for us. We have regional user groups. We have the Americas user group, the German user group, and so on. So we drill down to the regional level. And then on the customer influence side, we have a number of influence and adoption programs. We're especially focused right now on success factors and Concur. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is a big part of our job is to ensure that even these applications, which are, so to speak, standard business applications, are still customized, modified, extended, and so on for our industry. So we are particularly focused on ensuring that success factors, Concur, and going forward, Ariba, Fieldglass, and so on, all have the relevance from a functional point of view for the university, the K through 12, and the research sectors. And then finally, we have a program called Customer Connect, which enables existing customers to give us feedback in terms of how they would like to see products developed going forward. And the focus of Customer Connect right now is student lifecycle management, our student information system. So just an overview, our line of business applications, Ariba, Concur, and so on, also have their own groups, their influence councils, their advisory councils, even their own events, now virtual, of course. So we have a lot of touch points with customers. Please take advantage of them. They're very, very important to us, especially in driving, as I said, driving the roadmap and driving development going forward. I also want to mention, as a touch point, our University Alliances organization. I want to give them a quick shout out. They are kind of our sister organization. They have now been for a year under new management. And although still going along pretty much the same path, have really revived our points of contact with the education industry in general, not only the university sector, but also particularly the K through 12 sector. So if you want more information about that, again, please let us know. So I've been talking quite a bit about digital transformation, and I wanted to take a step back for 2 minutes and just kind of level set. What do we mean by that? What do we mean by digital transformation? And it is, from our perspective, not simply about, in fact, not really about technical innovation. We could talk about things like, mobility, cloud, RPA, automation, user interface, and so on. All of the, if you like, symptoms, so to speak, of digital transformation. But what is it? An article published in EDUCAUSE last year, I think, had a great definition of this. Digital transformation is a series of deep and coordinated culture, workforce, and technology shifts. I think that pretty much nails it. The workforce transformation, particularly in the last year, has been very, very important. And I don't need to tell you why, but really accelerated what we were already seeing in terms of universities really reimagining, rethinking who they recruit, how they recruit them, how they reward them, and so on. So workforce transformation, a big part of it. But the cultural change, I think, is the most important. And when I say culture, I simply mean how you behave, right? How you operate as a university, because we know that changes of that culture, changes in those business practices are really the most significant part of digital transformation. And we're all going through that. We are going through that too. As Kathy mentioned, we've been in business now for almost 50 years as an ERP provider, an on-premise ERP provider. We are transforming into a cloud company, and that is not only a change in business model and technical models, but it is a cultural change to become a cloud company. So we're all going through this, and that cultural change is the piece that's most painful, I think, the most difficult, but is the most important. And without that, there is no successful project. Yeah. So how do we facilitate that? So what is if you like, our platform for that cultural change and that transformation? You've probably seen this before. We call this the hamburger slide. That business network at the top there is basically our Ariba network of trading networks, which, as I say, increasingly universities are starting to participate in that. We have the business intelligence layer, but I want to focus on those two boxes there, the intelligence suite and industry cloud. I've already mentioned intelligence suite and what the components there, S4 and the LOB pieces for workforce management and spend management, and the industry cloud piece. And I want to say a little bit more in particular about these two pieces of the picture and what we're doing with regard to higher education and what the strategy is around this. This is really the core of intelligent enterprise and transformation. Industry cloud then. Partners are key to this. Kathy already mentioned the partners who are helping to sponsor this event: NTT Data, LSI, EPIUS, Clockwork, Deloitte, Accenture, and so on. These companies and many more have increased in value to our business over the last few years. There was a time, right, when our relationship with you was basically, we build the software, the partners make it work, right? The partners implement it. That model has evolved. There's still a lot of truth to that model, but we increasingly look to partners to actually extend the capabilities of our applications. In other words, to be a part of our portfolio development and innovation. And I want to give you a couple of examples that I think make this a little more real and not quite so theoretical. So a couple of examples of partners who have built on the SAP platform extensions to SAP capabilities that are particularly relevant to or required by colleges and universities. Firstly, Flexo, a European-based company who are very focused on research management and particularly on the pre-award part of research and grants management. We are very strong, as you know, in SAP in post-award, and we actually are increasing our investment in grants management and research management in the S/4HANA roadmap, really doubling down on the research side of our business. But Flexo have added and extended to that. They are now live, for example, at the University of Tilburg in the Netherlands. Second example, a company called Sodalis, based in Toronto, as a matter of fact, currently being implemented at the University of Concordia in Montreal. Now, Concordia is implementing a whole suite of success factors, S4, Concur, but also a package from Sedalis called Labor Relations. And this extends success factors. It includes effort certification, concurrent employment, and some other requirements for the higher education sector. So just a couple of examples there. I'm sorry, I've privileged 2 partners. I've now annoyed all the partners that I've not mentioned. But this is a very important part of our strategy. Why the partners? Well, because simply they can move more quickly than we can. They are agile in the cloud world. That's very important. You cannot wait 2 or 3 or 4 years for development. You need them on a quarterly basis, and partners can deliver that. And secondly, they are close to you. They're close to the projects, close to the customers, and the partners really understand what it is you need and what your priorities are. So that's a big part of what we're doing. So what are our strategic priorities then from the overall digital transformation perspective? These are the 4 areas that we're focused on, and I don't think there are any big surprises here. Transforming the operation and support side. This has become very important in the last year. As universities have, we know, pivoted to online learning, but as you all know, that pivot is easy to say. It's hard to deliver, and it requires a lot of work on the back end to really digitize the student experience. That doesn't happen just by putting Teams or Zoom or whatever on the front end of teaching and learning. So digital transformation of the operation, a big focus for us, but of course so is student engagement. The data piece, very important, of course, for RPA and automation. There is no machine learning without data and without a single source of truth for that data. And then fourthly, as I said, creating an end-to-end research experience. We're laser focused on improving and increasing our focus on the research piece. So what does that look like? So behind each of these pieces of this honeycomb, there are, of course, SAP capabilities and partner capabilities. In this case, behind operations, S4, success factors, and what we call intelligent spend management. That is to say, Ariba, Fieldglass, and Concur. We bundle those together as what we call intelligent spend management. So this is kind of what I'm talking about when I talk about combining intelligence suite and industry cloud into an end-to-end business process, right? So take, for example, here, this is, of course, simplified for purposes of presentation, but your priorities: financial health, financial resilience, managing your workforce, and controlling costs. What does that look like as an end-to-end process? Financial management, travel, tracking tenure, employee experience, contingent labor, cash flow, budgeting, facilities. So this is what it looks like. So we take the components of the intelligence suite, we take the pieces from industry cloud, which are partner applications, in this case, labor relationship and real estate operations. We're piloting a real estate management application from Honeywell, Penn State, and Tec de Monterrey are currently piloting that. So this is going forward what our solution will look like, this blend of intelligence suite and industry cloud. And these are all cloud applications. They sit on what we call the business technology platform, also known as the SAP Cloud Platform. And beneath that are the analytics pieces. So this is overall our strategy to drive, as I say, to continue to drive university requirements into the LOB applications like Ariba and so on the one hand, but also to drive partner applications on the other hand. The second piece of that then, so that was industry cloud and why that's a focus. And secondly, S/4HANA Cloud. We have, as you know, or you should know by now, 2 flavors of cloud, public and private. I'm not going to do a deep dive into these right now. We are particularly focused on public cloud, which is, as you know, a fit to standard approach, and we're piloting and also looking for new pilots and early adopters of the, if you like, pure cloud approach. That is to say, software as a service. This is where, in particular, higher education, our customers are moving more of a standard approach. That doesn't mean we are walking away from anything in the private cloud. We have great relationships with hyperscalers, as you do. So this is very much our focus, but you will be hearing a lot from us about public cloud and software as a service, our multi-tenant offering. And then finally, to wrap this up, I wanted to give a shout out to one new offering we have, a monthly webinar, which is really particularly focused on machine learning and intelligent enterprise applications. That is to say, automation and building virtual environments for your business processes. Again, you will get these slides, so please register. We're putting a lot of work into delivering information about how to build those applications on SAP. That wraps up my keynote. As I say, we will be sending these out. Please get back to us with any questions or anything here that I talked about that you would like to engage with us in terms of driving our solution going forward. Nancy, I think we have about 3 minutes for questions, if there are any questions in the chat.
Hi, Malcolm, and thank you for that presentation. Very in-depth, and I think we have a great understanding of the priorities for SAP and some of the success we've had in the past year. There are no questions in the Q&A, but there is a lot of chat happening. So thank you to everyone for contributing to the chat and letting us know what university you're coming from and where you're working from. We're really happy to have you here. And Malcolm, I think we can actually just let the audience go to their next session. We have a great agenda lined up for them, many sessions coming up. So I'm going to encourage you to stay with us. And if you're not able to, the sessions will be recorded so you can come back and view them. So
thank you, Nancy. Thanks for everyone. And listen, my final message is have a great conference. Enjoy it. There's a ton of information. As I say, Kathy Eberts and her team done an amazing job. So please enjoy it. Give us feedback. As I say, we treasure the intimacy we have with all of you, and we want to build on that and continue with that and continue to grow it. So have a great conference. Have a great time. And I and the rest of my team will be joining you, of course.